In this workshop, we're going to start from the absolute basics. So this is perfect for people that haven't done any one strokes before. So the brush that you're going to need is a number 12 flat brush. If you're using a new brush, it's a good idea to make sure that you completely rinse out the bristles so that they're nice and flexible. Loading up your brush is pretty straightforward. One strokes are paints that are made out of strips of different coloured paint. So of course you want to go along the different strips so that you get each colour nicely onto your brush. It is of course a little bit of practice to make sure that you've got the perfect consistency for your one stroke. You want your brush to be nice and slippery across the paints, but you don't want to have any pools of water or drips going across the colours. If you need a little bit more water on your brush, just dip the very tip of your brush into the water. Once you're happy with the consistency of your paint, it's time to start painting. I'm sure that you've probably worked this out already, but with this size brush you can create some pretty cool thick lines. But then as well you can use the very tip of your brush to create some very thin lines. The best things that you should start practicing when you're first picking up the brush in a one stroke is to go from these thin lines and creating a nice thick line as well. And then also going from thick back to thin. Of course, you're not creating any images or anything like that by doing this, but it is a very good way for you to get used to the brush and for getting used to changing your shapes. Another great thing to practice is to get some really nice consistent waves with your brush. To create these sorts of waves, you just want to start with being on the tip of your brush and then flattening your brush, moving it up and down, going thin to thick to thin to thick. So that's how you start getting some interesting shapes. Another cool thing about one strokes is that you can swap the colors and you can create two very different looking paints. So here I'm creating this circle shape here. You can do this by just pivoting your brush and just keeping it pretty much in the same spot. As you can see here, by rotating it one way, I've got the purple on the outside and a lighter color on the inside. Then what you can also do with your flower designs or other designs, you can actually just flip over your brush and do the exact same shape but use the other color on the outside. When you do this in one design, it almost looks like you're using a completely different colored paint. Another cool thing about one strokes is that you can go over them and over them as many times as you like, as long as you're nice and careful to keep it in the same position as you had it last time. This way you can really get some very nice clean designs. So those are the basics of a one stroke. So now we'll go on to our first little design, which is the easiest and actually the most common design for a one stroke, which is a rainbow. So of course I am using a rainbow one stroke here. Load up your brush with the rainbow one stroke, and of course once you're happy with the consistency, it's time to start painting. Rainbows are pretty easy because you basically just want to create an arch shape, and you're not really changing the shape of the brush, so you want it to be the same thickness. There are two ways that you can create this sort of shape. So first of all, what I'm doing here is I'm creating the shape in one go, all the way from one side of the arch to the other. Another way to do this shape is by starting at one side and going up to the top of the arch, and then starting at the other side and then meeting both colours at the top. So that is how you do a super basic rainbow. But of course, if you wanted to add some more to it, you can create a cool little rainbow design, which I'll show you guys now. So for this rainbow design, I am starting with going from one end and then stopping nearly at the other side and then just lifting up the color on the other side a little bit to fix it up. Now I'm going to create some clouds at the bottom of my rainbow, and so I'm going to use a white face paint and a sponge for this. And I want my sponge to be reasonably saturated, but for it not to drip, but so you can create some cool textures with the sponge. Then to get some cool fluffy cloud sort of textures, what I do is I actually pinch the end of my sponge so it's kind of like more like a little dauber at the end, and then I can just dab it at the bottom of the rainbow. Now if you're not a very good painter yet, you can totally just leave the design like this and it's still super cute. Maybe you could just add a little bit of glitter and it's done. Otherwise you can also add a few more details like a few dots and stars. You can also choose to outline your clouds a little bit with white. And then that is the first one stroke video complete. So this is a cute little rainbow design which will only take you about a minute to do on any kid's face or on their arm. And yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this one, and make sure that you have a look at our second video. Of course, all of these one strokes and paints are all available on our website, which is www.bodyfxshop.com.